This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Smilex, Happy Gas, or Laughing Fish. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob, and it is another solo show, and you know what I like to do on solo shows. When the team's not here, I want to talk to people making movies, being in movies, creating, anyone in the industry. I'll talk to anyone, of course. And this week's really exciting. I've been very lucky with a lot of exciting guests this week, but this week I get to talk about Batman. And I so rarely get to talk about Batman on the show, being the fan that I am. A few months back, if you pay attention to the Instagram account, you would have seen me review an incredible short film that made its way online. It surfaced on YouTube called Joker's Wild. And this was incredible for a number of reasons. It's a loose adaptation of the Death in the Family story arc, which is one of my favorites. It also starred the incredible David Howard Thornton, who we all know as Art the Clown, in the role of the Joker. And this was a Joker film, a Batman film we haven't seen before. It's comic accurate. It leans into the goofiness of what's on those panels, but also maintains a really dark and sinister tone. It gets really violent and gory. I say I'm lucky because not only do I get to talk about this movie, but I'm talking to the mastermind behind it. I have the director, Aaron Bennett, on the show. Aaron, welcome to the podcast, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, James. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So happy to have you. And we were having a bit of a chat beforehand. I was telling you, I've watched that film probably 5 or 6 times, maybe even 10 times. I'm a big fan of what you've done here. Congratulations on maybe one of the best Batman films we've ever seen.
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we all do. That makes you feel good. I appreciate it.
It's I was saying to you beforehand, it's a magic trick. It feels like, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it all at some point in the next hour or so. It feels like the studios always want to tie the character one hand behind his back. I feel like we've never really got a truly comic book accurate Joker. Like Nicholson does some, and this is no discredit to the wonderful actors who have played the role, but I feel like Nicholson got to do a bit, and Ledger got to be quite dark, but they never want to go full Joker. I feel like this is the first time I've seen that character I see on the panels, who is like, he's a dweeb, with his jokes. Like his jokes are so lame and not funny, but then he's got that malice to back it up. And to cast someone like David Howard Thornton, I don't know, man. I'm in awe of this movie. I just think it's such a fantastic film. When did you decide, hey, I'm going to make a Batman movie? Or I guess more specifically, when I'm going to make a Joker film? When did that come about?
So on Instagram, I follow David Howard Thornton, and David was interviewed for an article. I don't remember precisely. I don't think it was Deadline or anything like that. I think it was a horror movie online magazine, and in there they talk about how in prior panels and stuff at some of the horror conventions and movie conventions and stuff that he's attended, people have asked him to do his Joker because, of course, he was in Nightwing Escalation, which is an online. You can find it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good fan series on there. And I feel like it's a little discredit to them to say it's a fan series. They did a really superb job. With limited resources, and that's the thing. I know a lot of people forgive us a lot when we make these shorts, when you're using, other people's IP, making fan films, but they did a great job. And David there, you get to see him without makeup. And that's what a lot of people, when they comment on ours, are just like, well, it was really heavy makeup. Well, the one thing that David and I wanted to tackle, sorry, I'm just off the race, but
that's okay. You're good.
One of the things that we really wanted to tackle, and you were talking about comic accurate. That's the thing, that if people pull up panels from Death in the Family from 1988, you see a very elongated chin and a very slender face, and that rictus grin is actually really on display. And if people don't know what that is, it's a grin that essentially is formed like rigor mortis almost, where it's lost its pliability, and it's a rare medical condition also And so they lean into that in the older comics, and to where he's just, has that sinister grin all the time. Jack Nicholson did a really good job on his, because they really held fast to the rictus grin. And I really love the Heath Ledger version. I really don't know that many people who don't, but especially the fans. But it had pliability, and that was one thing that I always thought was really interesting when they leaned into the scars versus what it was without, which was the rictus effect. And then, of course, in Nicholson's, they said it was like a post-surgery, error. But and that's fine. The comic book fans, so we don't mind. But this one, we didn't want to show the origin, because we've all seen that so many times. We wanted to show what I wanted to show when I wrote the script. I reached out to David after I saw, and he was talking with this person like, oh, that would be my dream role. I messaged him and I said, hey, this is the dream role. Do you want to try like a makeup test? We'll do something a little more sinister and conventional to the comics, and then play around a little bit, which escalated from there, because I thought about it. I'm like, if I'm going to put all this together, light a backdrop, do all these things, and just have him there, it seems like a waste to have the opportunity to just take some stills. And, being that I had a camera package and I have the truck from my Grip and Electric company, then I was just like, I have all the gear, I have all the buddies, we're all sitting around on our hands. This was in November of last year. And so I just called up everyone and started producing this. And I pitched to David. I sat down about an hour and a half, wrote a script of about 10, 11 pages, and using the source material from the 1988 Death in the Family run. And I was like, in there, I think by far the most violent thing is the beating of Jason Todd. Just the one strip of panels, I think a lot of us already have it burned into our memory, but to me it was a huge deal. I was like 11 or 12 first time I read this, and that's a lot for for a kid, and I hadn't witnessed anything like that in comics. I was still reading like a lot of like Golden and Silver Age stuff, whatever cheap stuff I could get my hands on used at the comic shop, because they had a lot of like Silver Age stuff for like a quarter.
Yeah.
And so you could take $5 in there and just get stacks of used trash comics and stuff just to have to read. And then they see this panel, and it's just all it is him smiling, like a Joker does, and just left and then right and then left and then right. It's not particularly bloody. The only other panel they cut to is kind of like a wide where he's like kind of face down, and there's a pool of blood around him. And I think there's a voice bubble where he's just kind of groaning. So we know he's not dead. And then from that moment, I was like, well, if I write this, like I was telling you before we started recording, like I didn't want to do a play-by-play of the comic, because I feel like true fans, real fans, we all know what happens. There's a beating, there's a bomb, Batman gets there too late. And also I would have had to have like cast a character to play his mother, to be tied up and whatever else. And it's also one of those 3 pages of that where he comes to and he goes and he unties his mother, and then she goes to leave. And he says, just go without me. Don't, all that. Like it still gets to me. Like I still have like an emotional response because of the process of him finding his mother for the first time. Like literally the first time Jason Todd finds his mom, and then quickly just turns around and loses her just ever so quickly. And it rips your heart out. If you're into comics and you're reading this, it translates, it gets in your head. And I thought, now if I've got David, like he's got a fan base that's going to be like, why is David in a rom-com?
Yeah.
Like his fans, like as a fan, like would almost be upset. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, very happy he's acting. I'm happy to watch what he's acting in, everything else. But like, we are so used to seeing him play these characters that live in a horror realm.
Yeah.
That it would almost feel like highway robbery to not have an opportunity to see him play this. So the thing that I pitched David is like, why don't we just go there? And we talked. Actually, we didn't talk beyond just a thread in Instagram. I never had a chance to meet him in person. Never had a chance to speak with him really on the phone. It was just texts. He's very busy, and so the day that I met him was the day he showed up, and I was basically like, makeup chairs this way.
Yeah.
and I'm the director. So he was just like, hi. and then just on autopilot right to the makeup chair. It made me laugh. Like I was laughing as I was walking away. Probably thought I was insane. I was just like, I did not have time to socialize, which broke my heart, But we spent the night before pre-rigging and setting up everything. I had a really good set designer named John Helgren, and he outfitted the space at the Soto Studio, which is called the Escarpment in Los Angeles. Really great spot there, and then we did all the pre-lighting, and we tented it out so we could shoot through the day to make it look like night. And that gave us like maximum. So we didn't have to do an overnight. I didn't want to try and do that to everybody. Do that to David. It's a hell of a way to meet someone for the first time. Be like, hey, yeah, hey, thanks. I'm going to keep you up from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
You were talking about the process before we started recording, and I couldn't believe you didn't shoot it at night. Like, it's so effective what you did with you said there's like a rust gel you're using? I can't remember what the term was.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. Thank you. Yeah, and so what it is, we create a black box around the outside, and there was a lot of humidity in the air, so we didn't use what we would normally call solids, and it's like a duvetine material. It's soft on the inside and deep black. It's also flame retardant, and then light just gets eaten up when it gets shot into its fabric. And so we use it to put around windows. But in this case, we needed a light in there. So we backed it up. And Annie Williams, my key grip, and Chris Bond, VP, and boxed it out is what we call it. And we made this giant like 12 by 12 by 20 box around that large window that you see. And it just devoids all light. So then we can control what's there. So you don't have to worry about like the sun moving throughout the day and changing your shadow angles and stuff. All of that is under control. And so Tyler, my gaffer, Tyler Hart, put a tungsten unit at the top corner, and we placed some gel on that. I believe it was a 1K or a 2K. I think it was a 2K, a 2,000 watt light. So it's pretty powerful tungsten light. And that emulated what you see when you start the video, which is that street light that's out there on that abandoned warehouse lot. There's a little yellowish orange light, and I tried to match the color of that using the rust gel to make it look like, oh, this is the light. This is the only light source we have in this room, other than the light, the China light above Robin.
Yep.
And rust gel is just like kind of an amber. It's got kind of a blood maroon feel to it, a little more orange than red, and I really like it. Those normal lights are urban sodium for any of the lighting nerds out there. Like, this is, I'm going in the weeds. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. It's interesting though. Like obviously we want to talk about the story and the character, but like this is stuff unless you listen to a DVD commentary or you do your research, you don't get to hear. So please, this is fantastic.
Yeah, no, and I want to give due respect and shout outs to my team. Sure. I can write the thing, but unless you have a key grip like Annie Williams, unless you have a gaffer like Tyler Hart, who also did all of the on-set lighting control, it's just two people. Our grip and electric was two people.
Wow.
And for people that are in film, that's an incredible amount of work.
Yeah.
To just have two people do. Normally you'll have a third or a fourth on a short film. And then you'll have the director of photography, who's Chris Bond in this case, who's my dear, dear friend, my best friend. And then you'll also have like a first AC to pull focus, and and a second AC to go get your lens, or assistant camera, what AC stands for. And we were a real lean crew. I mean, basically that's all the people in the room. Even my set designer, John Helgren, who did a really great job on the set design with the plastic and the ha 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 and everything else. He crushed. He did that in like 6 hours, 6 or 8 hours the day before. So we were lighting, and then he came in. So we showed up at, I want to say like noon, 11 or noon with all the gear. The room is completely empty. Nothing in there. John, this was the prior day. John comes in the next morning around 7 or 8 and does all of that by himself. Sets it all up, decorates everything. Even picks up the prop knives and stuff for me. Just a hell of a guy. John Helgren, I can't recommend enough.
Well, I wanted to talk about the visual aesthetic, because it's so... It's not a Gotham we've seen before on the screen. Like, even the 80s Batman movies don't look as 80s as your film. Like, it's it's so visually striking. Like, it feels like it's come straight out of like a Frank Miller novel or something like that. Like, you've got this wonderful like punk rock biker Joker with his skinny jeans on. But I really like the visual aesthetic. I remember when I saw the image of the prosthetic, I think I was in the camp. I was like, oh, do we want to go back to prosthetics? The minute he like opens his mouth, and I think the way you've lit the room is so clever, like keeping him in the shadows, so you get these wonderful like expressive eyes, and in the grin and the chin, the whole thing comes together in such a way. Obviously, that was deliberate. Did you have a particular source material you were drawing from, or were you just like, we're going to do our own thing? Because it's almost like Frank Miller video game Joker. It feels in a way, but I love it. It's a Joker we haven't seen before. Where did that whole concept come from?
So we definitely wanted to, big shout out to Tatiana Buchel. She was the makeup stylist and the VFX coordinator, all the prosthetics. That was all her, and that's from her company, Valley Girl FX. Can't recommend them enough.
Yeah.
Plus the turnaround too. I a quarter of my budget, $1,000, went to just trying to buy the prosthetics, the supplies, the blood, everything that she needed, and also pay for the team. So that wasn't even all materials; that was labor included. That's all I had, and it was one of those like, I'm really sorry, this is what I got. And she's like, I can make this work, no worries. And boy, did she. And I this is the strange thing. Like, I've been here since 2018. My truck works a lot. I do, everything from music videos and commercials to like narrative, short features, and things like that. A wide variety of stuff. Whatever people need a grip and electric truck for, I take my truck, and we make it happen. So one of the things that I don't get to do very often was actually deal with gore. Because of the low budget world, a lot of the stuff I'm doing are like narrative short Christmas movies that I'll be key grip or best boy grip on. And, and these have no, zero gore, zero need for makeup or prosthetics or anything else. So I don't get to be a fly on the wall for what Tatiana's. So she shows up and she's got like all this crazy stuff. And I'm just like, well, I trust you. I don't know what to do with any of this. So, I have zero experience. Damian Leone, from Terrifier, incredibly talented. Like I was telling you earlier, I think before we started recording, like, one of his great gifts is that, either of us can write something. We can be as imaginative as we want to be. there's no brakes on the train. But then when you got to actualize it, I have the limitations of knowledge when it comes to that. And Damien, when he's writing, he's just like, I'm only going to write the things I'm sure. I'm just guessing too. I've never actually met him. But I can only assume that he's just like, his mind's going like, well, I've never killed anyone like this before.
Yeah.
And that has to be incredibly freeing, as a horror director, to just be like, I can do this. Like, I've never done this before, and I've never seen anyone do this before, and this is wild, and I'm going to do this. And then he just can. He has the tools, he has the team, he has the time and the patience, and part of it, I'm sure, I can only imagine. Part of it is just an adventure and the challenge of trying to, make it work. Like sawing a person down the middle from upside down. I was like, that'll be with me forever. And and that's what a guy like him wants to hear. Like, did I have like an impact with this?
Yeah.
I had a lot of people reach out and were just like, how is this on my feed? Like, this doesn't have a warning on it. And it was after about 150,000 views did YouTube reach out and go, hey, this is a little too intense for no warning. And then they gave me the restriction. But that was at 150,000 views, and I think we got another 300,000 after that. And it's kind of slowed down. I think it's kind of ran its life, ran its course. But who knows? Maybe it'll trickle up and just keep going and get another 150 people watching in a day.
I think 10,000 of those were just me on repeat. I was
yeah. No, I still get people reaching out that are just like, I don't know how I found this. I don't know how this came across my feed. I'm not even a Batman fan, but I think this is great. I was, thanks.
It's just so different. I think that's what works about it. Like, David Howard Thornton, what a stroke of genius. I know he's always been a fan of the character, and he does an incredible Mark Hamill impression. I did wonder, I'm like, was he going to do his own thing or would he do the Mark Hamill? I'm so glad he went with his own voice because it's so creepy and otherworldly. Like, he does this whole different thing. And again, like, it matches what's on the page. I think the success of it is just, like you said, you didn't put the brakes on. You're just like, this is the Joker. He's a psychopath. He's going to kill people. And let's throw in a healthy dose of torture as well. And I don't know. It's just, I've liked every iteration of the Joker. I've liked, as I said, from Nicholson. I thought Jared Leto was criminally underrated. I think people were quite harsh on him. Like, there are definitely challenges there. But to see someone just embrace the source material incredibly, and I think that's what the Marvel team has always done so well, at least for the last 20 years, is like, we're not going to be ashamed of what came before. We're not going to be ashamed of what's on the page. And I feel like Warner Brothers has pumped the brakes on a few things a couple of times. So I think for me, just watching this, I was like, oh, they get it. Like, they clearly love the source material and they get it, and they just want to let this character do what he does best. And this is what it would look like in the real world. And that's why I think it's such an achievement. Like, I love it. I was watching it this morning. Like, it's 7:30 a.m. here, so I was watching it on my computer at 6 a.m. this morning, and it had this. Like, I had my own Richter grin on my face. I was like, I'm still enjoying it every time I watch it, and just, I think it comes from a place of care and love. And you told me you shot with David in 7 hours. Like, it's insane that you produced something of this quality in 7 hours.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, it was insane. It's a sprint, and but in the low budget world that my truck and I live in, I'm not a union grip. I don't have the days to join the union or anything like that. I never get on union shoots. I've never been on a $10 million or $20 million movie. I think the highest budget picture that I've ever worked on as crew was like 1.2. And if you guys want to watch it, it's a Christmas movie called Greenbrier Christmas. And but like, don't do that to yourself unless you're in a Christmas movie. But I mean, it's the farthest thing from what's going on here. And I was the key grip on it. And we shot in West Virginia. It's beautiful. But the whole time you're thinking, man, I had a budget like this. Like, what would I make? What would I do? And, of course, these types of movies like those are pre-sold to distributors, to movies like Lifetime and Hallmark and, family channels and things like that. So they're not a gamble at all. And it's not like making a little short like this, which I couldn't monetize, that I'm not allowed to make profit off of IP that's owned by DC or Warner Brothers or anybody, which is a challenge. It's just coming out of my pocket, and I don't know how to crowdfund. And that would have been the other thing too. If I was more intelligent and well versed in crowdfunding, I probably could have had a more comfortable budget and not had to just shoot in one day. Of the 12 hours.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I missed that. Did you pay for this entirely out of pocket?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's a guy who loves the Joker.
Still paying for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I had about $2,000 in cash and about $2,200 on a credit card. So technically, it's not even paid for. So I'm still working on it. But just a little under $5,000, closer to $4,000, I guess. Yeah. So that's the limitation too. Losing a quarter of your budget. But the thing that I knew right away is that if I was making something horror, the thing that I can't do is miss on the horror aspect. I can't go cheap on that. Yeah. There are things that I wish we could have done more of, but it's time. And money buys time in film. You're trying to do 11 pages in a day. That's insane. A Marvel movie might do 3/4 of a page or a page a day on a script that's 120 pages long. That's just the nature. That's the disparity when people think, well, why does this, movie cost $100 million? Unions, that everybody above the line, the actor fees, everything like that, but when I have David and he's willing to come and do this just because he loves the character so much and, has already played a variant that was just white face, paint and just the normal makeup that you might see from like the Cesar Romero version. So he's kind of been there, done that. And I was just like, well, in Arkham Knights, the video game, you have that really gnarly, elongated, nightmarish, ghoulish face. So I sent David some screen grabs from that in our chat with Tatiana, my makeup specialist. And I was like, this is kind of what I'm looking for. I'm kind of thinking, in my mind, I wanted to embrace the 1988 facial structure, the long chin, the narrow cheekbones, all of that. Actually, he doesn't have narrow cheekbones. They're very prominent in 1988 Death in the Family. They really poke out. So I wanted to go after all that, but then you have to skew it just a little bit to get nightmarish features, because in the 88 comic, they're rounded. Chin is rounded, the cheekbones are a little rounded. It's almost too soft, no pointy angles. And then in horror, the human body has a reaction. The mind has a reaction to things that are unnatural. And so when you see someone with bony protrusions or very, very pointy face or long pointy noses, it kind of makes at least me for sure have a wariness, a kind of a slight recoil. And I wanted his initial wakey eggs and bakey thing to be just a little bit of a shock to people. And I either they loved it or they hated it. There were very few people that were in the middle of that. And a lot of the people that loved it are the ones okay, from the comics, this is what's up. This is what we want. The purists that actually read paper comics, they were elated, excited. They took to the comments. They were just okay, well done, that type of thing. And David and I couldn't have been more excited. Tatiana, mission accomplished, because and what was very difficult though is for the budget that I offered her for makeup would be to get prosthesis that could flex and be a little bit more pliable.
Mm.
And she embraced the challenge, and she did a really good job. You know, if I had more money, if we had more time, then it probably would have satisfied the people that were just like, why don't you just paint his face? What's interesting is I didn't even have to reply to those comments. They say stay out of the threads, don't engage.
Yeah.
But it's the internet, man. But people were very kind overall, by and large, and we have you can look at the metrics of YouTube videos and find out who's watching from where, and did they have the subtitles on, and if they did, were they in English or Spanish or Japanese, and it gives you a breakdown of where all it's from. And one of the things that just made me feel so good, and that made the team feel so good, was that after 34,000 people took the time to click like or dislike, 98.1% liked it. And I'm just like, that to me, for the internet, like people, especially in the comic book, I'm hating, Star Wars or comics or anything like that. It's like, God help you if you make a Star Wars movie and you have a lightsaber that is the wrong tint of blue. Like, people will come at you with switchblades from the dark at night getting into your car. Like, it's insane. I'm a fan too, and I'm a super fan. And when I see something like, I remember the first X-Men movie. I remember being annoyed. My favorite character from Marvel was Wolverine, and I'm like, I get a Wolverine. This is amazing. And then I saw Hugh Jackman. I'm like, well, why is he so tall?
Yeah.
That was like the first thing. He's far too tall. Not gonna do it. I'm out. And clearly, I went like 4 times, in the theater, but because he did so well, but that was my first nerdy reaction. Was just like, no, he's too tall. Like proportionally to the other, Cyclops would be like, 4 or 5 inches taller. Wolverine's much shorter, and that was just the type of reaction I was expecting by daring to make, anything, whether or not you had fans that loved David jumping in and saying, hey, we want a horror, we got horror, thank you. Like, oh, we want a Joker, we got Joker, thank you. But I was really, really hoping that people would be on board for the facial shaping and everything else. And I was very fortunate that people allowed to themselves to enjoy it. But you could definitely see it was people like yourself and me who were Batman fans of the comics that know. One thing that shocked me, James, I was really blown away by how many people didn't like how violent the Joker was.
Interesting.
And it was many, many people took to the comments and were like, this is not the Joker. He would never do this. And again, I didn't
disagree, but okay.
Oh yeah, I strongly disagreed, and I practically had to get tackled to not respond. But I didn't even have to, because shortly after, many people commented right below that. We're just like, hold on, have you read a comic book?
But also, if you look, The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker is incredibly violent. They don't show you any blood, but he's putting pencils in eyes, and he's, getting people to joust with broken pool cues. He's a knife man. He's very violent. The difference is that you showed it, which I really appreciated. I was like, we don't get to see, obviously there's the comics code, and then now comics are more mature. I haven't read in it in a couple of years, but I was a Batman collector weekly for a while, monthly for a while. They have to kind of taper it to their audience, knowing that yes, there's going to be teens and adults, but there's also kids reading this. But with you with the kind of the creative freedom to do your own thing and market it towards adults, you do get to play with that, and that is exactly who the Joker would be. He wouldn't be Art the Clown. He wouldn't go that far, I don't think. I think even the Joker has a warped sense of humor and has a sense of taste. But I think what you did is probably exactly within his realm of capability, and I loved it. And was shocked by it. The first, even I watched it a few times now. I still get shocked by that ending. I'm like, oh, that's right. He's about to, and I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it. But what a way to end a Joker introduction! Oh my god.
Yeah, and for fans of the Red Hood and all of that too, it's, I mean, a lot of people, and shout out to Joel LeBlanc who played Robin in this.
I'm so glad you mentioned him because he is
Yeah.
wonderful. Like, he has to act opposite David Howard Thornton, who gets to use his voice for one of the first times ever in a movie. And he's literally he's the straight man, and all he's his whole purpose is to react. But without a performance like that, you maybe don't get what you get with this film, which is, as I said, a magic trick. I think it's a wonderful pairing, and he just plays victim so well. But you never feel like he's weak. Like, you can tell he's fighting until the very end. Like, yeah,
and the level of discomfort he put up with, because we had so little time. He was the first person I threw in the chair and got out of makeup. Then we took him upstairs, and then David hopped in the chair, and he was in for about 3.5 hours. But we were able to get Joel out of the chair in like 20 minutes because we had Cassie White and Pedro Rios, who were supporting makeup to Tatiana. So there was a 3-person team operating on them, and so they turned Joel out quick. Aaron Camacho, he was my wardrobe stylist, and also came in the night before at 6 p.m. is when he was hired to come in the next day. So he had about 12 and a half hours. I don't know if he slept, so we'll call it 12 hours. Unless he stayed up all night to come in. And so I'll just hop over and sidestep back to Aaron so that he gets his flowers too. He has like kind of an Etsy store. He does fashion modeling and dresses fashion models, and is a creator of fashion himself. As an artist does a very interesting thing that I'm super ignorant to fashion. It's a t-shirt and jeans every day. But Aaron takes found clothing and found articles and tears them apart and re-sews and makes like punk. Like his specialty is like punk, steampunk, and post Armageddon styling. And I'm just like, okay, perfect. I don't know what all that is. My buddy started sending me pictures of like the I don't know why my phone just started talking to me. That's really
mine does it all the time. Don't stress.
Ever since they did the update, I apologize. That's disturbing. Thank you, 1984. So he started sending me pictures of like the gloves that David wore and like some jacket variants. We had about 6 or 8 that he was just like, what about this? What about this? And then I said, well, this is my color palette. I want to embrace some of the lavenders, some of the greens and yellows. I want to feel all that in his outfit. So that nod is there and consistent. I said, but I also want to hold the line. And this was something I was so worried people would hate. I want to hold the line to the 1980s. And, this thing came out in mid to late 80s. People were still doing boom boxes, cassettes, all that kind of thing. And I really wanted to embrace that with the clothing too. So one of the things that I hypothesized when I was writing the script is if it was 1980 and you needed hoodlums, you needed thugs, you needed goons, you're not going to go to Wall Street and get a bunch of guys in suits. And so that was always one of the things that kind of, as I got older, I always thought, well, that's just a little illogical that the Joker, here I am like trying to find logic, and, but to me, I was just like, why is he always in such nice clothing? Like how, he could rob a bank and have money, but is that something that the Joker would spend his money on? And I thought, if mine was as far too insane as, to as could possibly be. This is not a guy who could go to, TJ Maxx and pull off, some clothing off the rack, or, go to, the Bon Marché and just be like, oh, this is a great little purple dress shirt. I'll take 10, like, this is just how my mind works. I'm just like, no, he would kill someone and take the clothing right off the rack. Like, I imagine that's how insane he could be if he was so psychotic and had such a psychopathy. If that's a word, I'm so sorry.
Coin it. It's done. It's minted. We're there.
It's minted. Let's go on record. But if he had all those issues, could he dress normally? And if he did, wouldn't it be more punk? Wouldn't it be something like Johnny Rotten-esque from the Sex Pistols? And so I was kind of like, I knew how tall David was and his build roughly, and I verified that with him in an email. I was like, what are your measurements? Like, probably the creepiest thing, but I'm just like, at the time I had no wardrobe person, so I'm going to try and go find a Joker costume the day before, and because all this was coming together so quickly. Like, we found out I had a choice of 2 days, or 3 days. It was either going to be December 3rd, 4th, or 5th. That's it. And then he's going to be off to conventions and visiting some family, and then we're going into the holidays. So I just knew that was my window. And I was just like, okay. And I was going to go and find a traditional Joker purple, variant of the costume or whatever. But because I was non-union and I wasn't established, and this is Los Angeles, and these prop houses and wardrobe houses, you have to be working for an actual wardrobe stylist or be a member of the union. Or there were all these, I kept calling house after house after house, and no one would rent apparel.
Wow.
To get this, and certainly not like strutting onto the Warner Brothers lot. And I'll take Jack's old costume, like that's not kind of like, cool. How'd you get in here? Get the hell out,
I love the choices you made. I was talking about the aesthetic before. It's interesting. Like, it feels like it's from the 80s, but it has this real timeless quality as well. Because the way you're talking about the Joker and the way he buys his clothes, or the way he doesn't buy his clothes, I could imagine the Joker in the present day not having an iPod. Do you know what I mean? Or no, not even an iPod. Like, I could imagine present day Joker having a cassette player. Like, he's that insane. Like, why wouldn't he have it? And that jacket, like, it's the biggest crime of this movie is you can't merchandise it, because that jacket would fly. It's such a great jacket. Like, the way the Harley Quinn t-shirt sold about 10 years ago, how everyone had that one, that Joker jacket would be flying off the shelves. It's incredible.
Oh yeah. No, and it was a fun jacket. And I had a lot of people reach out, and there was a period of time too, that I was just like, this is probably the only way I'm going to pay for this movie is if I sell this jacket. That's like, the one thing we thought about doing, because the fires happened in January, I believe it's 6th is when we had the big storm, and it was all the heat off the desert was blowing over Los Angeles. There was a fire, and then of course everything everybody saw on the news happened. And I was like, maybe I could auction this jacket off and donate it. Maybe that's something that could be done. But I just didn't want to auction it off and get like $50. I didn't, and plus I don't know how to like set up an online auction. It was like, is this eBay? If I put on eBay, does anyone even know it's there? Like, that was my big worry. And then I thought, maybe if we ever made a follow-up to this, I'd better hang on to the jacket. And that way you can have it if that's what we decide to do, is go with that look again. People responded really positively to it.
Is that something you would want to do? You just mentioned if we do a follow-up. Has that been in your mind, thinking about doing more with the Joker character and coming back to it?
I wouldn't hate that at all. I mean, there's so much before that takes place and so much after that takes place. And I think if you want to get into horror and stay in horror and live in horror for these concepts, like I want to do, that you would need a Jason Todd / Red Hood. You would, I mean, if you want free reign to do horrible, disgusting kills, that's your guy. It's either that or Lobo. I mean, you grab a character like Lobo and you can do crazy body horror all day long. He's just going to heal up. Or as I used to call him, and hate me all you want, but I used to call him the poor man's Wolverine when he first came out. I was just like, what are we doing? The look is similar. The build is weird and similar. Like, and he heals. I'm like, come on, like, what are we? Come on, DC. But yeah, but I'm begrudgingly a fan too, and I think the casting of Momoa as Lobo is pretty legit. I'm like, okay, that's a good call.
Speaking about the legit side of things for a moment, I remember the first thought I had, because again, like this is not me just like throwing out like lip service. I genuinely love this movie. I remember the first thought I had when that credits roll was, I hope James Gunn sees this. Like, that was my initial thought. I'm like, I hope someone from Warner Brothers is paying attention, because you found a way to capture in a way that hasn't been done before. And it feels like, I know David's want to play the Joker forever. I would love to see him on the screen. And I think, you might be you clearly have a passion for it. You understand the horror elements of Batman. Because that's the thing, Batman is horror. It's gothic, it's dark. Like, people, they talk about him as a superhero. And like, yes, of course he's a hero. But like, put him next to Superman or Wonder Woman. One of these things ain't like the other. You know what I mean? And I would love to, see you do so much more with it. I just feel like it's one of the most refreshing it's weird to keep saying refreshing, because you're looking at the comics, but no one else seems to be doing it. And it's just, I don't know. I hope someone, as someone with zero influence at all, I hope someone over there saw it, because that's what they need to be doing. Like, that's what we haven't seen done yet. And I adore it. I just think it's wonderful. So
I appreciate that, James. Like, yeah, and I'm a kid. I'm hopeful, like deep down, like I still, I lose 40 years off my age right away, and I'm just a kid again when I read comics, and all those feelings come up and stuff. And I feel like sometimes when I'm watching a superhero movie, and particularly what's happening with the more modern variants of like the Marvel movies, and I won't say I liked the Thunderbolts. I thought that was kind of a return to form, but nothing's gonna ever get back to like Endgame. I just don't see it. There was such a build-up, like 20 some movies coalescing into this epic storyline, and like, what can you do to beat that? I just don't think you can.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, hats off. Thunderbolts wasn't bad, like kind of thing. And Guardians 3 was great. But and then Superman, Jane. Oh my God, I totally spaced on his name.
James Gunn.
No, not James Gunn, but the actor that played him. He played Superman most recently. Not in the film that's upcoming, but
I'm Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. I almost said James Caviezel. That would have been way wrong.
That would be an interesting Superman. Like, he played Jesus. Now he's playing flying Jesus.
Very interesting. Yeah. I wonder if his hands would whistle when he was flying. I don't know. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, but that's so my niche of humor, and I so rarely get to hear that on a podcast.
Hey, but yeah, I think. To answer your question, like if James Gunn saw that, if he saw it, I mean, I hope he geeked out. I hope like that he was just like, oh, this is really cool. And I feel like from the interviews and stuff that I've seen him give, and the talkbacks that he's done, and the panels that that I've watched, I feel like he could appreciate it as a fan. I don't know if he's into horror or not. I don't, but then you see the animated.
Yeah, he's done some horror. His first flick, he worked for Troma Studios, and then he did Slither, which is like a comedy horror. I think he's got those horror sensibilities. Yeah.
You're right. Troma for every reason ever was just like, that was their thing. No, that's a brilliant point. So maybe he kind of warmed the cockles of his heart, low budget horror. But man, if someone knocked on my door and said like, hey, what can you do with this? David and I, I can't like go too deep into it, but like, we are flirting with concepts that we would love to see done. For me though, like I spent my money. Like I don't have deep enough pockets to do another one of these. And I don't understand crowdfunding. It seems like higher level math to me. But the fans kept saying like, the take my money, like I want a feature, I want a feature of this, take my money. And like, yeah. And I want to write you a feature, and I want to do that. I don't know how to facilitate that. I would need like an executive producer to come in and be like, look, here's the cash to do it. I don't need to explain how I got it. I'm like, okay, perfect. And if I were to take the storyline, there are characters that I would bring in. Absolutely. I have a variant of Harley, Harleen Quinzel. That was my grandmother's name was Harleen.
Oh wow, that's very cool.
So I would absolutely love to get a Harley. And then I think they're easy slam dunk characters that lean to horror, lend themselves to horror. Probably like Electrocutioner, Zaz. Zaz is an easy one. I don't think there was ever a moment when that character was introduced that he wasn't horrific. So that's just a low hanging fruit. But I think I would love to do something there, and then probably Killer Croc. But I worry because how far on the makeup could I go? I want to do it practically, and it would be a budget, and that's not something I've been confronted with. I've always had to make a lot with very little, and be involved in those types of productions where it's just like, this is all we have. What can we do with this? How much can we get out of this? And I squoze everything I could get out of my resources to make Joker's Wild. I'm not even financially, but just with the tools that I had on my truck. And luckily, Annie Williams and Tyler Hart and Chris Bond, they work my truck and my equipment all the time. So they were very familiar with like, okay, this is what Aaron has to work with. These are the lights that he owns. These are, the rags that he has. What can we do? And, a lot of lighting has become quite a bit more affordable for owner operators. So I was very fortunate to have like some, like LED units that are fast and low power draw. So, because I couldn't have afforded like an extra generator if I had to have one. So Aperture makes, really inexpensive lighting options. And so I have a bunch of Aperture lights and Astera Titan tubes and things like that. Those were the go-tos. But Chris Bond, my DP, really loves tungsten sources. And so we utilized the tungsten 2K open face going through the gel to come through the big window. And that was pretty much like our hard key source was through that. And which looked great. Like one of the things I knew, like when you have this much makeup on someone, mission number one is to not put them in an extreme close up.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't help myself. And I wanted him to
it looks so good. You have to put them in extreme close up.
Yeah. I was just like, I can't just have this heart over light, with deep shadows. It's like I want to see the whites of his eyes, like I want him to come in and be able to have that expression. It's like we limited his expression in so many ways to where luckily David is a pro with art. Like he doesn't get to talk when he does art. So he has to sell it physically and, with his shrugs and with a little bit of eye movement, and it has to come out of the eyes. And, like there's not a lot of room. So he has found ways to get a performance out of, around those limitations. And with this much makeup on his face, he did it again. I feel like it was great. Just how fluid his body was and how flexible and bendy and shruggy and like, he uses his hands and his eyes and stuff to like kind of draw people away from the intensity of the makeup, to where I don't think a lot of people were as hung up on it. um, as they could have been if he would have just been sitting there reading the news and just his little lips would have been moving. Like he got a lot out of it, especially his slow look up. Like that, I had shivers. He really sold that when he was down on the ground and he was pretending to cry, and then he looks up. Like a lot of people, as soon as we said, I said cut on that, that monitor, like Tatiana and Pedro, myself, we all just kind of looked at each other and we're like, wow, okay, so that's horrifying. And then I literally, David's like, do you need another one of those? And I was like, absolutely not. Don't have time. Let's keep going. We had him, had him in makeup for just under 4 hours. And so I knew I had to have 15 or 20 minutes to get him out of makeup and cleaned up. So, that gave me about 6.5 to 7 hours of time to shoot with him. And I'll tell you what, in 7 hours, was able to get usable takes, hour and 40 minutes of usable footage to draw out of all the angles and the cross shooting and everything else to blend together. I had a really, really good first assistant camera. First AC was Noble Gray, and he's just a surgeon. Like there's not going to be any blurry takes. Like I barely had to throw away hardly anything. Everything I shot, I was able to keep, except for like maybe one or two. And the thing about it is David's always moving. So for a first AC, if someone comes forward and approaches the camera where maybe they wouldn't have before, or they didn't on a prior take, that has to be a micro adjustment they have to be able to make in order to keep that focal point. And make it clean and crisp. And David was always moving. And Noble was just over there jockeying it, And he's so good, man. He's so good. And that just gave Matt Walker, my editor, and myself just a feast of opportunities. And right after we shot this and right after we edited this, Matt Walker ended up getting a job at Disney. He works as a special effects artist for Marvel now.
Oh, that's awesome.
He lucked out and got hired on. Not luck. I mean, he's very talented, but he was in contention with a lot of people to get the job, and he landed it. And he found out that he landed it as we were editing towards the end of December, right around the holidays. He's just like, you're not going to believe this. So we have to finish this. We have to finish this edit right now because I start, in January. And so while he's doing his onboarding and everything for Marvel and prepping to jump on projects, like right away they took him on to Thunderbolts, and he helped them get the deliverables and all of the VFX. He's a VFX supervisor and VFX artist himself. And so he oversees like 10, 20, 30 artists and then compiles it and then also works on it. So once he got Thunderbolts out, he jumped right off. And I believe now he's working on Fantastic Four.
Very cool.
And then once that's done, they were just like, hey, we have the next 6 projects ready. So I hope you don't plan on taking a break anytime soon. Just like, but yeah, Matt Robert Walker, he's just a savant. And we were like kids when we were editing this. Like he's just like, he would make it, and I'm watching. I have no idea what he's doing. I don't know how the sausage is made, but like things are whipping around and he's got the timeline out and things are changing and clips are flying in and then he would stop and then he would hit play and he would turn around and look at me and his face would be like, huh? What do you think of this? He got this big long beard and he's just like, what do you think of this? And I'd be watching and just and it was so much fun to edit and to learn also. I'm watching him do some, and we didn't have to do like a bunch of visual effects, and I also knew I didn't have the budget to do it. But there were some things that I had to like, mostly with like the intro with the credit sequences and stuff, and Matt did all the credit. I typed it out and just sent it to him like a child. I brought it. Here's my broken toys, and fix it, Dad. And And he's just like, all right. And then put it all together. He's like responsible for so much of the way this thing turned out the way it did. Just because I didn't know that there was an option to do A, B, or C. I just came in and was like, can you do this? And he's like, yeah, I can do this, this, or this. And I'm like, now I've got a choice to make. And, it's a director's dream come true. I was so naive to whether or not I'd be able to sit in the room and then be able to in real time tell him like, no, I really want to see this. And if we can use the wide from this. And his initial assembly was so close to perfect. It's like, okay, well, this is absolutely the sequence that I was looking for. I made a few, and then you just start like tweaking and whatever else, and you start having one person talk over and, into the, what do they call it? J cut. There's a whole world of terminology I don't understand about editing, but I will tell you, there's the movie you write, there's the movie you shoot, and then there's the movie you edit. And it's three totally different stories. And so all the power lies in post. They can save you from yourself, or they can let you burn. And I don't know how else to say it. There's so much power there.
Yeah.
And especially like a lot of shout out to people who do comedy, edit comedy. Like if you don't understand comedy or the delivery of a joke or everything else, like because my background is in stand up and improv comedy, and I came down here to write comedy specifically. So I had a lot of fun with all the dad jokes, and then I found out that David himself is hilarious and also has a background in comedy. And so like all the Art the Clown goofiness, silliness is just like right out of, where he lives in his brain. Like we hang out all the time. We just saw Thunderbolt yesterday or day before yesterday. And the whole time we're like cracking jokes. We're those guys. I don't know if you're a Muppets fan, but like
Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah, like we're sitting there chuckling and whatever else, and no one has told us to shush yet. Like, but like we try to go to matinees where there's like nobody else in the theater because we're just going to sit there and like take jokes and snicker where we're not supposed to. And but no, he's become a great friend, and which I'm proud to say, like he's a hell of a guy, and about the sweetest guy that if you get a chance to go to a horror convention and meet him, he's incredibly genuine, and there just aren't enough hours in the day for him to sit and talk and chat with people. So they line up to do their meet and greets and stuff and get a picture with him. But he's so personable, and I think all of his fans know this too. That he's just kind of a shirt off your back kind of guy. Very nice. And I didn't know any of this. He could have been a nightmare when he came to set. He could have been like, I need a break. I need to go sit down. I need to do this. I need to do that. He was a trooper. And then I found out later why. Like, they do really long days to make those Terrifier movies, and they do a lot of them. They are a brutal, it's just such a ton of work. And Damien Leone, he's got like his work cut out for him. It's a huge undertaking when he does those. And I hope people appreciate how much work goes into the movies that he's making and what he's trying to bring and the vision that he's got. And it's so far from simple. It's not just directing this. He's also juggling all the makeup aspects and the gore aspects. And I'm sure he's having a great time, but those are long days. And for the actors, it's even longer, and they're in all the gore, and especially David, who's in the makeup for long periods of time. He was just so used to it. He just hopped in that chair like like someone getting ready to get their hair cut. He was like, yeah, all right, and then had to sit still for 2.5 almost hours, and then put some wardrobe on, and then hop back in, and then do another hour.
Yeah,
and he was just such a sport about it, and didn't like other than have a little bit of Fresca. It was just like a little straw and some Fresca. He was happy like that. I asked him, I was like, what do you want? Like green M&Ms in a bowl? Like, what do you need? Like, and it's called a rider, and the agent usually provides you with a rider for their star, and then you got to have these sort of flowers in the break room. You gotta have a yoga ball or yoga mat, or it's just whatever the star prefers to make them most comfortable. And so I reached out to David and I was like, we're not so fancy that we're getting you a writer or anything for this, but like, what kinds of things make you happy? Like, what kind of coffee do you like in the morning, or what kind of whatever? And he was just like, I'll take a latte. And I was like, I was expecting like, 1.5 pumps of whatever, this fancy, whatever, like, and I've just seen the nightmare scenarios on set of even the small background actors are just like, actually, I need some sunblock. I'm getting a little, like, and David was just like, maybe a latte and some Fresca if you have it. Like, he was hopeful, and I'm like, no, man, you can have 10 cases of Fresca.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this.
He seems like a good dude. He just seems like like, I think he loves it, and B, like, when I've watched those behind the scenes docs of the Terrifier films, he just seems very grateful to be living the life he's living. And I think that's the key to it. And I think it comes from growing up in, kind of our generation. There's a bit of an age difference between us, but not too much. I just think like there's the old Hollywood, which maybe has a sense of entitlement. I don't want to say, don't want to throw out accusations. I might get to talk to some of those guys one day, but there seems to be, it seems like this modern, our generation who grew up loving this stuff. Like, we just want to be involved. We just want to do it. So whenever we get the chance, before we talked, I was saying to you, like, I was just like, thank you so much. Like, and it's not a line. Like, every time I get to speak to anyone in the industry, it's just like, you'd understand. I love this stuff. I've been watching movies my entire life. Like, to be in the shadow of it, like, is so much of a big deal to me, because movies have given me so much as an audience member, as a fan. So I think, like, it seems like that's where it's coming from for him as well. It's like, no, I just love doing this stuff. So thank you for my Fresca. I'll have a latte.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and I think it was some candy too. I can't remember.
He's pushing his luck. But
yeah, I think it was Kit Kat. And he's just like, and if you happen to have any Kit Kats, that would be great. But and then after he said the things that he likes, he just walked it all back. He's just like, I don't need any of this stuff. I just like, those are the things I like. Could you have? Yeah, but then we had it all, and he was just like, he was just going, oh.
Aaron, you've been an incredible guest, man. Like, thank you so much for carving out so much time. And like, if like listeners are going to be shocked because I'm so quiet, because I'm just like, please talk. Tell me all your stories. It's been so wonderful hearing. I had like a bunch that I was going to ask you, and I was like, no, just let Aaron talk about what he wants to talk about, because it's so insightful, and it was wonderful to hear about the film and hear about. I'm so glad people have received it so well and they've enjoyed it, because it really is just beautiful, like horrible and beautiful at the same time. And you clearly love it so much. And I hope you get a chance to do another one, man. I hope we can get someone to help you with the crowdfunding, or, you got a buddy at Marvel, get you a job. Like, come on, let's get you behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, he got a lot of props from some bigwigs, man. He got a lot of props. There were just people at his work that were like, hey, man, I just checked out your thing.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Before we get out of here, do you want to tell people where they can find the film? Obviously, it's incredible. Where they can find you so they can show you some love as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, James. It's on YouTube for free. It's Joker's Wild. And I think if you have any trouble finding it, it should pop right up. But Joker's Wild Movie is the channel. And on socials, it's Instagram, Joker's Wild Movie. And my Instagram is Aaron Wright Stuff.
Yeah.
And props to my producers, Vanessa Lee and Hunter G. Williams, who also was Batman in this. He's an actor first and foremost, but he produces a lot. And is our producer and co-producer on like 7 other projects. We're in the process of trying to get attachments and things like that. We actually have 2 features with David attached to them that hopefully someday I get to call and talk to you about those once they're done. Who knows?
You have an open invitation. You can come back anytime.
A year from now, 10 years from now, I don't know. Whenever it happens. Yeah. But it's a slow grind for sure to get a movie made, and I hope to get a bunch more of these, whether it's short. I love the opportunity to do anything, to make anything. That's why we're down here, and it's slow. People are taking productions out of Los Angeles, sadly. So it's hard to get on set anymore, and so you just you have to make your own sandbox. This is what I would like to say to like anybody that wants to do this is, you don't have to go and find someone like David Howard Thornton. You can go to a community theater and meet with actors there and start building your crew and building your team. There's always somebody that really wants to run a camera. There's always somebody that really wants to do sound, and meeting with these people and building your crew and building your posse. It's not as hard as you think. It's just a gradual process. And you don't have to go and buy a $30,000 camera. You can rent one. You can use an iPhone. You don't get as much dynamic range, but you can still make a really badass film because you have the right actors and the right story. You also don't need, $5,000 to make it either. You can slowly piecemeal and make these shorts, and every one is better than the one before it. I was blessed to have so many talented people like Annie Williams, Chris Bond, and Noble Gray, and Tyler Hart, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on my sound guy. I apologize so much. Pete. Peter Acatino, and then my coloring was done by Chris Piccioni over on the East Coast. So that was like kind of a challenge, but he did a great job for me. And it's weird because you'll see the still shots and you put those up against like the finished product, and any difference there, like that's all done, in post, in color. And it's just it takes a village. Maybe even if you try and keep it small, you can try and keep it small, but man, it just takes so many people to make it turn around. We shot on December 4th, and I had a usable, viewable edit, rough cut a week and a half later.
That's insane. That's crazy. How quick this thing moved.
No, I have just enough OCD and ADHD and all the other letters that like I didn't take a day off. Like after I had it, I just wanted to see and progress. And then once it reaches to a certain point, you can branch it off and have 2 or 3 other people working on different aspects, and then crunch it all together, and then you have your deliverable. And the music was done. That song at the end, a custom song, was done by a man named Chris Knabb, who coincidentally owned the studio that we shot it in. And the room that we shot it in was also that Turned Down for What music video was made there. Johnny Depp had shot there. Like, it's just this studio that's been there for 20 plus, 30 plus years. This old building, and all these great actors and directors have come through there. Turned Down for What? Like, this is one of the 2 directors worked there that ended up making Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the Daniels directors. So it's fun walking around this town and seeing all the historical places and seeing all the historical shots and the tunnel that Back to the Future used, and just like it's all just here in this town. But I'll let you go, Rose.
No worries. Well, that's all. No, I'm happy to listen to you talk. And you did say beforehand, you said I like to talk. I'm like, great, you'll fit right in.
I'm probably undersold how much.
It's been great. Thank you everyone for listening. Go and support the short. It's on YouTube right now. You might need to log in to get the age verification. I had to do that. It is 12 minutes of the best Joker film you're ever going to see. It's so wonderful and fun and terrifying, and the whole crew has done a fantastic job. So go and support it. Reach out to Aaron, show him some love. And thank you for listening to this. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. We'll be back next week with some more movie chat. And as I say every week on this show, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, James.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.